So protocol is open source. It's the protocol is somewhat anonymous. It's not fully anonymous, but it's somewhat anonymous. What does that mean? You have if you're part of the network, if you're part of Bitcoin, you have an address. You have an address, and I have an address, right? If I know your address on the network, I can see all the transactions that have gone to your. I can see how much money you spend, how much money it goes. It's a public ledger, but I have to have your address, right? If I don't have your address, then I don't know who the address is not tied to a name. So I'll give you. Let me see if I can give you a quick example.
It's truly public information.
Yeah, but they just have an address. They don't know exactly.
Yeah. Well, the
Correct.
IP address was a private key or like.
It's a private public key.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This website called blockchain.info, it's basically it's a website that tracks, that takes all of the transactions that have happened on the protocol and puts it on a database and displays it on this website, right? So as you can see here, these are the latest transactions that are happening right at this moment, less than a minute. And you can see how, there's 1 Bitcoin going out, 18 Bitcoins going out, 11 Bitcoins going out to a certain address, right? So I can click on one of those, for example, and it'll tell me, basically this address send this value to this other address, right? and I can actually.
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. I don't know this is Giorgio. I don't know this is Sebastian. I don't know anything. All you know is you see all the transactions happening. The reason why they're public is that they have to be public in order for the miners to be able to transact. I mean, it's not like there's a secret company behind it just making sure that you have the right amount of money and you have the right amount of money.
Yes.
I mean, as you can see in a bank or in a bank, I mean, it's a ledger. It's a ledger of numbers, right? I mean, all of that stuff is not manipulable, but all of that stuff is within that bank, right? There's no other identity that's double checking, what you have or all those records. So in here it's different, right? Since it's a public ledger, everybody knows what all the address have. I can actually pull up who the biggest wallets are in the world, and things of that nature, and what are the biggest transactions. It's all public knowledge. They're just not tied to any particular person. All right. So that's obviously that's how that
It's
works.
impossible to money launder it.
It's impossible. A lot of people say that you can money launder this stuff, or you can actually have a contract to kill somebody, and all these things, right? You can do that with any currency.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just they're just creating the fear of unknown, the FUD, right? The fear of unknown towards something like this. But in reality, you can do as much good or as much bad with this currency as you can with any other currency.
Oh, like dollars is easier longer because you can anonymously put the money through some shell corporation and come out somewhere else. Here,
So in case of
then those
terrorism, you
records
can
exist
track
somewhere.
this transaction.
Yeah. So
In case of terrorism, you can track this transaction.
Yes,
Yes,
you can always if you understood. Actually, it's even better because if you understood the address that was tied into, you can definitely understand what funds are there. The only problem is that unless you know where the person exactly is,
Okay,
they can make a
yeah,
transaction
yeah.
from anywhere in the world,
Yes,
and
but
nobody
the
will be able to
FBI
stop.
can know, for example.
We'll go through some of these things, but also something that's really cool is that that's a good thing is there's no reversible transactions. Once I send you money, the money goes to you, and I cannot reverse it. Not like a credit card. A credit card, like American Express,
Yeah.
there's chargebacks, right? Which is why some of these vendors obviously like that functionality because if I send you a good, I don't have to go and spend.
As long as it's confirmed by the miner.
It would if you do everything right, it would be confirmed by a miner. That's correct.
Okay, so once you give a coin,
Once I give you a coin, you have it.
I mean, they just send it back to you, but there's
Well,
no return.
so it's up to the company. It doesn't mean that I can scam, right? If you sell me a good,
it sounds
right?
very like I'll give you a coin, and then you can, do a reverse ACH, for example, via cash. That's how you can money.
Look, if I go to Amazon, I can purchase anything with dollars, right?
Yeah.
And then if I get what was not promised, I can always send it back. Well, you can do the same thing, right? If it's a reputable company, they would send you your money back, but it doesn't mean that the transaction gets reversed. It just means that I would have to physically send you your money back. that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
By
You
the way,
know,
Amazon was creating a similar currency, right?
I don't know, but I'm assuming that they would do something like Apple Pay, right?
No,
You know,
I wanted to create like some similar.
I know Microsoft recently published an article that was working on a blockchain technology, and they actually and we can go a little bit down the road because we see in the way you guys look at currency. I mean, if you're not really into this, if you just been exposed to it now, the way you look at it as a currency, right? This is okay. It's easier to type. Okay, Bitcoin is this value, but in reality, the Bitcoin protocol or any of these other protocols that I'll show you are a virtual machine, right? You can look at it as a virtual machine. A virtual machine that runs in thousands and thousands or millions of PCs, right? And what can you do with a virtual machine? Well, you have a database, right? A database that is shared among or can be or cannot be shared amongst millions of machines, right? What can you do? You can actually provide services just like you would do a VPS server that you rent from web hosting or anything like that. You can actually provide services and publish applications to those virtual machines, right? And we go and down the road, I'll show you some of those applications, because the space has evolved so much that it's not just a currency or not just a value. It's now an application, right? Microsoft sees that, and they're definitely investing heavily into that as well. I mean, they're in the cloud. They're a cloud business now, and they're obviously writing protocols or trying to create a virtual machine that runs on a blockchain. I'll give you an example that you can understand. A web server runs on one server, right? On one VPS server. It can run on two as well, right? Two VPS for load balancing. It can run on three for load balancing. One goes down. Well, think about a protocol or an application that customers can download all over the world, right? And you will be able to serve web pages out of that application, and you would pay, for example, somebody in China to be able to browse that server, that website, on that application. I mean, that's how powerful it is. The difference is that instead of actually you paying to rent 3 machines to be redundant, you're actually paying for the protocol, and the protocol is redundant by 1,000 machines or 1,000,000 machines, depending who adopts it or who has this application, and it's virtually unattackable. It's hackable in the sense that the code is what the code is what's king, right? If the code is not written properly, then obviously the application is not worth much. But in the security space, there's a lot of denial of service attacks. And denial of service attacks basically takes a multitude of computers attacking one single IP and bringing that IP down. And it doesn't attack; it just puts traffic, right? And then when the traffic saturates the internet pipe, the server is inaccessible. If the server is inaccessible, you're down. That's what's called DDoS, which is a distributed denial of service. In this scenario where the application lived on millions of machines, it will be practically impossible to attack that web server or to bring it down, because you would have to have an enormous amount of zombie servers attacking one IP, but the IP addresses lives or the application lives on millions of machines. It couldn't be done. So from the security space perspective, from the encryption space perspective, there's a lot of good use for this technology. Again, protected by strong encryption. If you have the secret, if you have the key, basically you can own the bitcoins that are inside that wallet. If you give your key to anybody else, you have access to it. I mean, that's pretty simple. Maximum of bitcoins will only be 21 million. A bitcoin is a unit of measurements. You can actually, if one bitcoin is worth $1,000, right? I can send you a fraction of a bitcoin to pay for 100 transactions. You can definitely split up one bitcoin into fractions of a bitcoin, and only be able to send that amount. You don't have to send one bitcoin, and then
it's
not like gold, right? If you have a gold bar that's worth $1,000, right? I can add just I can, but it would be crazy to just try to break it into pieces and just give you what it's worth, right? So current Bitcoin price is $757.40 this as of this morning. The rewarding for finding blocks is 25. What does that mean? The miners get paid by finding by confirming the transactions, and in that pay they have a chance to for every block that they confirm, they have a chance to get 25 bitcoins out of it. It's it's a gamble though. For example, you have millions of miners out there trying to go after the same block and trying to get that that 25 bitcoins out of that block. If you're a single computer, if you're a single computer, it would take. It's kind of like winning the lottery, right? So what they do is that they do pooling or guild. Basically, it's kind of like saying Michael, Sebastian, and my computer will pull our resources together and try to get have a better chance to get to that 25 to be able to release that 25 bitcoins out of that block than by ourselves. So basically, what happens is that they have pools that millions, like thousands of people, just pool the resources and try to get more money. Try to go after the block and try to retrieve that 25 bitcoins. I'll explain to you a little bit. The mining process is very technical, so I'll explain a little bit, as we go along. But definitely, that's how a miner gets paid to confirm transactions. They have the chance to win 25 bitcoins for every block, and a block.
They have the chance, but they're not sure.
They're not sure, right? And the block is actually I can show you here what a block looks like. See all this numbers right here, 41,724. So that's a block ID, right? That's a block number. When a miner or miners go after this block to try to extract the 25 bitcoins, and as a reward they get to take that block and add it into the blockchain. And in this case, for example, this miner by the name of bw.com was able to do that, and they were rewarded with 25 bitcoins. Does that make sense? If I lose you, just stop me. I know it's miner is it's basically like a gold miner. Anybody can become a miner. The issue is that the difficulty is so high today that you need specialized equipment. It's kind of like saying, in this field there are gold, and the prospectors that go after a gold can go with pickaxe, and try to get gold out of it. But when the mine becomes so difficult because the gold is scarce, right? Then you need specialized equipment to go there and start digging, and a person by itself will not be able to do it. In this case, the computer back in 2010, you could mine with a computer, with this computer, right? And you will be able, you could have a chance to get some bitcoins. In today's world, you need data. They have what's called data center mining. So basically, you need specialized equipment. Even if you wanted to be a miner, you wanted to compete in that. Only the vendors who created these computers are usually miners, because it just costs so much, and the capex is extremely high. So you can try to be a miner just so you can understand what it's like. You can take some people. What they did is they took computers and they added video cards. Video cards have a GPU is faster, can mine faster than the local CPU, and you'll be able to get some subscribe to a mining pool and try to get a little bit out. But the fact is that today it's more for the people that have been involved there for a while, and that have data centers full of computers that are normally going after and confirming transactions. It's very difficult today. Mining difficulty. This is the mining difficulty today. The number of blocks so far is 417,196. The dollars moving into bitcoins per day. So in other words, the volume of Bitcoin today is $127 million, right? Within 24 hours. But the market capital of that is 11 billion. So market capital obviously is the supply times the price, right? So that gives you 11 million. All right, so this is some of the incentives of the miners. The miners want to publish a blockchain because they're paid to do it, right? So they form guilds, which is pools, right? And basically, the pools attract miners by giving them low fees and get them to mine, to mine the blockchain. Consumers want to hold Bitcoin because the value is expected to rise. That is true, right? Today, in today's market, in today's world, I would hold Bitcoins because I think they're going to go up. And sometimes and we fall into this trap. Sometimes we don't even want to spend them because I think they will go up. I mean, it's called, Bitcoin hoarding, I guess. What I do is, I invest in new projects here and there using that, but most people just basically want to hold it because they think they tomorrow to do work on them. If you wanted to invest in Bitcoin mining, right, as an investment, there's a lot of cost up front. Difficulty goes higher, so the higher the difficulty goes, the harder it is for you to mine that block, right, or for you to get the reward. And then, the value of the Bitcoin goes up, but it can also go down. So let's assume, for example, that you, on an average, a month make, you get 20 Bitcoins, right, from this pool because you have, and if the price fluctuates by $100, on the negative side, you could have an issue with your paying your bills the next day. So it's very difficult. I used to do a little mining. I know people that used to do it for a hobby perspective. The only serious people that do mining today are big corporations. And those those big corporations basically have the bulk of it. But if you look at this, for example, merchants want to accept Bitcoin because there's no chargebacks; they get paid immediately. They to accumulate Bitcoin in case they think that the value will rise. Give them flexibility, and they can advertise on the Bitcoin community. The Bitcoin community is actually very it's easy to advertise to them because it's a very small community. It's a very targeted community. Maybe in a few years it wouldn't be. Maybe in a few years it will be mass adoptable where you can actually vertical that target. But right now, Bitcoin community is just investors and tech people.
Gotcha. Because my other question is, how easy would it be, for example, for us, not excluding Michael, but us, getting into Bitcoin, Bitcoin, like, okay, let me set up an account, or let me buy, and then starting the process of transferring. I mean, is it really complicated? Or?
No, it's not as complicated. Today, again, if we take the example of Coinbase, you can go into Coinbase and get an account, and you automatically have a Bitcoin wallet. Once you have a Bitcoin wallet, you need to fund it, right? Because who's going to send you Bitcoin unless you're selling something, right? So in order for you to fund it, you have to put in your bank account information or your credit card information. If you purchase Bitcoins via credit card, they'll charge you a fee that is higher than if you do it through a bank transfer, right? But there's even through bank transfer, there's a fee, and that's how Coinbase makes money, right? But once you have your 10 Bitcoins or your 1 Bitcoin, whatever, then purchasing things or doing things with that protocol is very simple, right? But the point of entry, the entry into the Bitcoin space is what's difficult, right? A bank or wire transfer, as I said, takes 5 days, right? You can actually go to an ATM here. If you have no Bitcoin, you can actually go to an ATM here, and the ATM will sell you a Bitcoin, right? But it will sell it into their own platform. Once it's in that platform, you can send it to wherever you want. You can transfer it. But it's kind of like Mt. Gox, right? They're keeping your funds. You don't have to put your funds with anybody. You can today go to the website and download a wallet, right? A wallet for Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin.org, right? And the Bitcoin.org works as just a GUI into that protocol, right? And once you download that you can have your own control of your own funds. Yeah, you don't have to. So let's say, for example, there's a hack into Mt. Gox, or there's a hack into Bitstop or anything like that. It doesn't affect you because you have your own money here, right? The only thing that affects you, being your bank, the only thing that affects you is the value, the perceived value of the dollar. Because if there's a major hack into one of these major companies, then the perception is that there's something wrong and the value starts decreasing. I don't know if you know this, but this weekend has been very, very exciting because there was a hack with one protocol called DAO. You heard about that? So like I said, there's Bitcoin and there's other companies, there's other coins like Ethereum, right? Ethereum is the second most valuable coin in the internet right now. Ethereum. And based on Ethereum, they create, one of the inventors, they created what's called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, right? And it's a project, it's an experiment, basically where you can create, instead of actually registering a company here, you can actually create a company, a virtual company, and be able to transact within there. So it's kind of neat, right? But there was something.
Like Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like Monopoly.
That's like how I printed it on my
Yeah, but then there was something wrong with the code that an attacker went in there and was able to steal. Then guess what happens, right? Everybody, including me, goes and sees those news, and the price starts declining, right? Because people start panicking, right? There's something wrong. Let me just get my money out, right? And it's a wave, right? People sell, then I'm like, well, I believe in the protocol, but I don't want my funds to. I mean, I don't want to go from $5,000 to $1,000. So let me sell as well, right? So there's a whole chain of effects, and it's just right now that money was valued at $20 before the 17th. Today is worth $11, and that was in a period of 3 days. So it can happen, right? If it happens, it happened to Bitcoin. It happened to the second most valuable coin, digital currency in the market today. It can happen. It can happen again. The value of the coin can fluctuate, but no one can take your coins, and that's what's so important, right? If you have them inside your own wallet, no one can take them from you. If you have them in an exchange or in some other third party, and they get hacked, that's a different story.